Mustafa Amir was a young man with dreams as vast as the Karachi skyline. At 23, he lived in the upscale Defense Housing Authority (DHA), a neighborhood known for its luxury and safety. Mustafa was ambitious, kind, and full of life. His family adored him, and his friends admired his charisma. But on the evening of January 6, 2025, everything changed. Mustafa left his home telling his family he would be back soon, but he never returned. His disappearance sent shockwaves through his family. His mother, a woman of quiet strength, paced the house, clutching her phone, waiting for a call that never came. His father, a man of few words, tried to stay strong but couldn't hide the worry in his eyes. Days turned into weeks, and the once bustling home became a place of silence and despair. The police were called, but their initial response was dismissive. "He's probably out with friends," they said. But Mustafa's family knew better. Their son was responsible, the kind of person who always called if he was running late. As the days passed, their fear turned into the desperation. Posters of Mustafa's face began to appear across the city, but there was no sign of him. The night Mustafa disappeared, the streets of DHA were quiet. The air was crisp and the city lights flickered in the distance. Mustafa had told his family he was meeting a friend, but he didn't say who. His phone was switched off shortly after he left, and his social media accounts went silent. His family's calls went straight to voicemail and their messages remained unanswered. Police were informed, but their response was lukewarm. Young man offered wander off. An officer said dismissively, "He'll come back." Mustafa's family knew something was wrong. They began their own search, knocking on doors, calling friends, and visiting places Mustafa frequented, but no one had seen him. The days turned into weeks, and the family's hope began to fade. The once vibrant home became a place of silence and despair. Mustafa's room remained untouched, a shrine to his memory. 39 days after Mustafa's disappearance, the police made a horrifying discovery. In a remote area of Balochistan, a charred body was found inside a burned car. The body was so badly damaged that it was unrecognizable. Dental records later confirmed the worst. It was Mustafa Amir. His family's worst fears had come true. The once vibrant young man had been brutally murdered, and his body set on fire to hide the evidence. The news spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through Karachi. How had a young man from one of the city's most privileged neighborhoods ended up dead in such a horrific manner? Discovery raised more questions than answers. Why had Mustafa been taken to Balochistan? Who had killed him? What was the motive behind such a brutal act? Police launched an investigation, but the case was far from simple. Mustafa's dead body was exhumed for forensic analysis. A medical board collected 11 samples, including deep muscle swabs, teeth, and bones to confirm his identity and determine the cause of death. The samples were sent to the University of Karachi's forensic lab, where DNA tests confirmed the body was indeed Mustafa's. The forensic report revealed no traces of drugs or poisoning in Mustafa's body, predicting earlier rumors that he was involved in drug-related activities. This finding added a new layer of mystery to the case. Why had Mustafa been killed, and who was responsible? The investigation took a dramatic turn when the police arrested Armagan, who was acquaintance of Mustafa. Armagan was no ordinary suspect. He was allegedly involved in a drug network, and rumors suggested that Mustafa had also been part of this network. The arrest was anything but smooth. Armagan opened fire on the police, during a DSP and a constable before being captured after a 4-hour standoff. During questioning, Armagan revealed shocking details. He claimed that Mustafa had been interfering in his business, which appeared to be the motive behind the murder. Armagan and his companion Shiraz allegedly lured Mustafa to Armagan's house, where they tortured him for hours before killing him. They then stuffed his body into the trunk of his car, drove to Balochistan, and set the car on fire to destroy the evidence. The investigation into Mustafa Amir's murder unfolded. It became painfully clear that the police had not only mishandled the case, but were also entangled in a web of negligence and corruption. The cracks in the system began to show, leaving a disturbing pattern of incompetence and possible collusion. The first red flag came when 3 police officers were suspended and demoted for their gross mishandling of the case. These officers, whose names became synonymous with negligence, were accused of failing to act promptly when Mustafa was reported missing. Instead of launching an immediate search, they dismissed the family's concerns, telling them that young men often wander off. Delay proved costly, as it gave the perpetrators ample time to cover their tracks. The officer's suspension was a rare admission of failure by the police department, but it was the only tip of the iceberg. The investigation deepened. It became evident that the problems within the force ran much deeper. One of the most controversial figures to emerge from the case was Assistant Sub-Inspector Nadeem of the Gizri police station. Nadeem had been in regular communication with Armagan, the prime suspect in Mustafa's murder. While Nadeem claimed that his interactions with Armagan were part of the investigation, suspicions arose that he had been shielding the suspect from legal consequences. Armagan had a history of criminal activity, and many believed that Nadeem had helped him evade justice in the past. This raised serious questions about the integrity of the police force. Was Nadeem merely incompetent, or was he actively protecting a criminal? The possibility of collusion sent shockwaves through the investigation, casting a shadow over the entire case. The arrest of Armagan further highlighted the police's questionable conduct. When officers finally located Armagan, he was holed up in a hideout, armed and dangerous. What followed as a dramatic 4-hour standoff, during which Armagan opened fire on the police, injuring a deputy superintendent of police and a constable. The fact that Armagan was able to resist arrest for so long raised eyebrows. Had he been tipped off? Was someone within the police force helping him? The standoff ended with Armagan's capture, but the damage had been done. The incident exposed the police's lack of preparedness and raised serious concerns about their ability to handle high-stakes situations. It also fueled public outrage, with many questions whether the police were part of the problem rather than the solution. The Mustafa Amir case became a lightning rod for criticism of the police force. Citizens took to social media to express their anger, sharing stories of their own encounters with police negligence and corruption. The case also drew the attention of human rights organizations, which called for a thorough overhaul of the system. The Sindh High Court stepped in, ordering an inquiry into the police's handling of the case. The court's intervention was a rare but necessary move, as it highlighted the systematic flaws in the justice system and sought to hold those responsible accountable. One of the court's most significant rulings was that the judicial remand of Armagan, prime suspect, was unlawful. The court found that the procedures followed by the anti-terrorism court were flawed and lacked transparency. This was a major blow to the prosecution, as it called into the question the legality of the entire investigation. The court also criticized the formation of a joint investigation team, JIT, stating that it had been done without proper authorization. The JIT, which was supposed to bring together experts from various agencies to solve the case, was disbanded, further complicating the investigation. In a rare move, the SHC recommended withdrawing administrative powers from the judge who had overseen the case, the judge who had ordered Armagan's remand, and the formation of the JIT. He was accused of overstepping his authority and failing to follow due process. This rebuke was a clear message that the court would not tolerate procedural lapses, no matter how high-ranking the official involved. The HSC's intervention was a turning point in the case, as it forced the authorities to re-examine their approach and ensure that justice was served. It also sent a strong message to the public that the court was committed to upholding the rule of law, even in the face of systematic corruption. As the investigation into Mustafa Amir's murder deepened, it became clear that the Ermagan was not acting alone. He was part of a larger community network involved in drug trafficking, money laundering, and digital currency operations. This network, which spanned across Pakistan and even reached into the United States, was a sophisticated operation that had evaded law enforcement for years. Khan's alleged involvement in the drug trade was a key focus of the investigation. He was accused of running cannabis network, with Mustafa reportedly being part of the operation. However, the forensic report, which found no traces of drugs in Mustafa's body, contradicted this narrative. This raised the questions about the true nature of their relationship and the motives behind the murder. Investigation also led to the arrest of several individuals linked to the drug network, including Sarim Hassan, the son of renowned actor Sajid Hassan. Sarim's arrest sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, as it exposed the dark underbelly of a world often seen as glamorous and untouchable. The Federal Investigation Agency was brought in to trace Ermagan's financial activities. What they uncovered was a complex web of money laundering and digital currency operations. Ermagan was linked to 4 companies, 2 of which were registered in Pakistan and 2 in the United States. Companies were allegedly used to funnel money from illegal activities, including drug trafficking, into legitimate businesses. The discovery of this network highlighted the far-reaching implications of the case. It was not just about Mustafa's murder, it was about dismantling a criminal empire that had thrived under the radar for years. The FIA's involvement marked a new phase in the investigation, as authorities worked to untangle the web of financial transactions and bring those responsible to justice. Throughout the ordeal, Mustafa Amir's family remained at the heart of the case. Their relentless pursuit of justice was a treatment of their love for their son, and their refusal to let his memory be forgotten. The family's journey was one of pain, resilience, and unwavering determination. Mustafa's mother, a woman of quiet strength, became the face of the family's fight for justice. She attended every court hearing, her eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and determination. Her grief was palpable, but so was her resolve. She refused to let her son's death be in vain, and her courage inspired countless others who had lost loved ones to crime and corruption. Mustafa's father, a man of few words, channeled his grief into action. He worked tirelessly to keep the case in the public eye, speaking to the media and meeting with officials to demand answers. His quiet determination was a source of strength for the family, and his unwavering commitment to justice became a rallying cry for others. Mustafa's story became a symbol of the struggles faced by ordinary citizens in their fight against crime and corruption. Tragic death was not just a personal loss for his family, but a wake-up call for the entire nation. The case sparked a national conversation about the need for police reform, accountability, and justice for all. The Mustafa Amir case exposed the dark underbelly of Karachi, a city grappling with crime, corruption, and a flawed justice system. It was a story of betrayal, murder, and the relentless pursuit of truth. As the investigation continued, one thing was clear: the fight for justice was far from over. Mustafa's story would not be forgotten, and his legacy would serve as a reminder of the need for accountability and reform. The case also highlighted the resilience of the human spirit despite the pain and loss. Mustafa's family refused to give up. Their fight for justice became a beacon of hope for others, proving that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, it is possible to stand up for what is right. As the city of Karachi continues to grapple with its demons, the Mustafa Amir case serves as a stark reminder of the work that still needs to be done. It is a call to action for all those who believe in justice, accountability, and the power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of times.